Good morning, good evening, good night. The Israelis have now come to fight. Yes, in War Thunder, the Israelis are now coming to the British tech tree, and they are coming in the form of a premium, the Sho't Kal Dalet, or Dalet, I'm sure I'm saying that exactly wrong, is coming to the tech tree as a rank 5 premium. Now, over the last, few updates, over the last year or so, we've seen the XM1 come for the Americans, the Leopard A1A1L44 come for the Germans, and then the T55AM. Now it's time for the British's turn. We did get the Centurion Mk.5 Avery, but that was more of a donk tank, which wasn't very good at grinding. Now we actually have a proper MBT, which is worth the name of the British, MBTs, I suppose you would say. So, what is the Sho't Kal Dalet, or however you say it? It is a Israeli modernization of the Centurion Mk.5. Basically, the Israelis bought a bunch of Centurion Mk.5s and put a bunch of different stuff on them, including their own L7 gun. It is an Israeli-made L7 gun. They also added some improved fire systems and also some ERA. The ERA is very similar to what you find on the Magak in the American tree, so be sure to, understand how that works. It's very good against heat. It's not very good against, it's very good against heat. It's pretty good against heat FS. Later to heat FS, such as like Leopard 2A4 or Type 90 heat FS, it's not very good, but obviously you're not really going to fight that. So the heat FS that you're generally going to fight with stuff like the Magak 3 and this Israeli Cent Mark 5, it should be able to deal with pretty well. So, is this a carbon copy of a Centurion? No, there is other differences as well. It has an upgraded engine. So the general engine of the Centurion Mark 5 has 650 horsepower. This thing actually has 750. So it has been upgraded in a lot of ways. It still keeps a lot of the normal stuff that, Cents have. So it has the stabilizer, obviously the L7, even though it's Israeli made. It has, obviously, the general shape and everything like that. But this really is an upgraded Centurion, and in more ways than one. On top of all of the upgrades I've talked about, so, the difference in the gun, the difference in the engine, the ERA, there is one thing that really sets this thing apart from all of the other Centurions that we have in War Thunder, and that is the fact that it can fire APF SDS and Heat FS. Now, the meta at top tier is pretty much APF SDS dominated, and as we've seen, not really recently, but over a slow but surely creep, it's been going down in BR. So, you have stuff like the T55AM, the Leopard A1A1L44, which has just been recently down to 8.7, the Leopard A1A1 at 8.7, and you have some other machines which have the APF SDS, which are getting lower and lower. The Sho't Kal Dalet, I'm sure, will be exactly the same. For me, this is the British top tier rank 5 premium, and it's the first one out of the four, including this one, which I would say is an actual rank 5, where the others are rank 6s, which are disguised as rank 5s. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a price breakdown, then I'm going to give my opinions on this thing. Obviously, this is coming out in update 1.85, in addition to all of the Italian vehicles that are coming, and it has its little pack here. So let's go over the pack itself. It's $59.99. This is in USD. I was told last time, after the last Devblog pack that we looked at, the Semavente, that the War Thunder store does not support Canadian dollars. So every price that you see is in USD. What you get in this pack is the rank 5 Sho't Kal Dalet tank. You get the 15 days of premium account, and you also get 2,000 golden eagles. You also get the unique decal that you can see there next to the vehicle, and the Scourge or Scourge title, depending on where you're from in England. So, with that said, one of the historical facts, which is really nice that they actually mention in this, is the fact that this took a large part, or at least was involved a lot in the Yom Kippur War, where it was pretty much the Israelis fighting for their existence, if we really want to put it like that. And the Centurion tanks, or the Sho't Kal Dalet, or Dalets, however you say it, they were able to hold off hordes of Russian-bought tanks at the time, or Soviet-bought tanks at the time, through the Golan Heights. And it's seen as one of those wars where tactics really definitely played a massive part, because what a lot of the Israeli sense did is they parked up on hills overlooking the basic area between the Golan Heights, and the Soviet tanks, which were manned by, I believe it may have been Egypt, but I apologize if I'm wrong about that. But they didn't actually have the elevation of the gun to be able to aim up at the Centurions, but the Centurions had enough depression to aim down. So it was seen as a crazy strategic thing. And if you actually look at some of the battle reports from the Israelis who were involved in that, they were pushed to the limit. Like there are some insane stories about that conflict, and I would say just please go and go and watch or listen or go and read about it, because it is really, really interesting. As I said, on top of the upgrade of the gun with the APF SDS and the Heat FS rounds, you also get the Blazer package, you get an upgraded engine, you get different smoke grenade launchers. Overall, it's just an improvement. You also have a bunch of different machine guns on it. So 2 7.62 anti-aircraft guns and a single 12.7mm, and also, of course, the mortar for smoke grenades. So price breakdown, $59.99 USD. So here we go. It's $59.99. The GE that you get comes to, if we use, remember we're using store prices here, that is $11.19 rounded up. And then the premium time you get is around about worth $5.62. So overall, if you pre-order this right now, you get this tank for $43.18. Now, that generally seems like quite a lot to me, but if you are a person who is either interested in the history of the vehicle or wants to use it to grind through the British tree, and hopefully at some point, we get some help for the Challenger at higher tiers, such as, the Vickers MBT, which we looked at the other day, the Vickers Mark 7.2 or the Vickers Mark 7.1, maybe even the Vickers Mark 4 at some point, There are options there, and my guess is eventually, with the fact that America, Germany, and the Soviets all have at least 2 top-tier MBTs, Britain soon will probably get their own second MBT. So with that said, this will be a good purchase now to pick up for when that happens, and also to grind out the tree. So I would personally say, at least from my point of view, a person who plays a lot of British and really enjoys them, that this would be a great addition to a lineup which includes stuff like the Chieftains, because it gives you that extra mobility, it gives you that extra, killing power, it gives you a lot of stuff over the Chieftains that you have, and then the Chieftains can be the more defensive tank, and this machine can be your more aggressive tank, depending on what map you're on. Because one of the big issues with the Chieftain is the fact that it sits in a place where it's very good on certain maps. If you can get it hull down, if you can get it at the right BR, you can just wait and be able to always get the first shot off. And because your reload is pretty good, you can also get the second shot off. The problem with the Chieftain, though, is not all maps facilitate this idea of defensive gameplay. So sometimes you will need to bring something along with your Chieftain to be able to facilitate that. Now, in the tree right now for Britain, it doesn't exist. Like, the only thing you have is the Vickers MBT, and that ain't cutting it when you're running at 8.3 or 8.7, or even higher with the Still Brewed Armor Chieftain. So this would be the answer for that. Now, is it unfortunate that it is a premium? Yes. Is it unfortunate that now we have 2 Centurion Mk.5s at a premium instead of a Mk.5 in the tree? Yes, there is also another Mk.5 I would like to advocate for. There was an Australian Centurion Mk.5 which was upgraded as well and used in the Vietnam War. That could also be either put in the tree or put as another premium. I'm guessing the Cent Mk.5s are just going to be destined to be premiums at this point. But overall, you can see what I'm getting at. This machine will work wonders for the British tree. We've had the Chieftain Marksman added. We've had the Chieftains themselves. We've had the Warrior recently. We've had the Sho't Kal Dalet now. Then, of course, the Centurion Mk.5 of Israeli, which we won't mention. So, with all of these things, you can see that there is a lot going on in the British tree right now at top tiers, and it makes me happy. It makes me happy that we actually have a competent rank 5 premium. And now, the British one is coming out. Now we can look for the other nations. So the French have already got the AMX30 premium, but that's not a 9.0 premium like the other ones. Like, I see this. I actually see it as an 8.7. To be honest, I know the armor won't be that good, it's a Centurion's armor, but with the upgraded engine, with the APF SDS and the Heat FS, with the stabilized gun, and also the reload it should have a very good reload, then with all that said, it should be up there. You're talking about 8.7 at this point. I don't think it's a 9.0 tank, because if this thing gets dragged up into 10.0, it's going to get annihilated, whereas something like, for me, a Leopard A1A1 L44 could hang at 9.0 because it won't always get up to, into 10.0. This machine, I don't see it. Just because after looking at the penetration statistics for the APF SDS, it ain't good enough compared to what we look at from like the Leopard 2A4 and the Type 90. So it would just be outclassed in pretty much every way. It would be slower, it would be less armored, it would be easier to penetrate, all of this stuff going on with it. Now, obviously, since it is a premium vehicle, you do get a bonus in research from it. As it says at the bottom of this, all premium vehicles allow you to each increased research points and silver lions for each battle, and comes furnished with all the modifications. So also with a premium account, you will earn more research points and silver lions during each battle for a set amount of days. This is cumulative with bonuses from premium vehicles. So you can kind of double dip with a machine like this. You can run premium and also run a premium vehicle, make a ton of research, make a ton of lions, and generally when it comes to these premium vehicles, they actually have really low repair costs. So because of that, you can make a lot of silver lions while you're playing. Another thing to mention as well is a trend I've seen over the last few updates when we've actually had major trees come out is, I'll show you. So I was having a look at the wiki the other day at larger updates where we got the, nations. The last nation that we have or was added to the game was the ground forces for France. And if you look at the new vehicles for ground forces, all we got was French introduced to the game. If we look at Vive la France, and we have a look at the aircraft at that point, so update 1.73, only the aircraft from the French were introduced to the game. So no extra ones here from other nations after we get the tree for that specific vehicle type. Then, if we look at Regia Aeronautica, which is the one before us, where the Italian aircraft or airplanes were added, the only other things we got after Italy being introduced to the game was 2 premiums, which were, one of them was because they had to take out the what was basically the Italian premium. That was the starter aircraft for the Germans, so they added in the Bf-109A Flagel instead, and then also they changed the premium for the Americans that you get first up, which is Gala's F3, F2, and also the Privateer, because what a hunk of junk. Anyway, and then if you go back to update 1.65, you have Japan introduced to the game, then you have a bunch of updated models, and then you have the Sherman 2, ZIS-43, ISU 152, and Object 906. So the major point I'm talking about when looking at these updates where large, like full nation trees are added to the game, you don't generally get a lot of other vehicles. So my guess is that the trend is going to stay, and this is going to be one of the only other vehicles that we get for ground forces in update 1.85, which isn't Italian. And because of that, I'm happy to see it. It is nice to get another British vehicle. Would I have preferred something in the tree to go alongside the Challenger, or maybe something around the 80, 83? Would I have preferred like a AA, which would be between 47 and 77? Of course. As a player who generally doesn't enjoy top tier that much, I would have, of course, preferred this. Am I happy to see this in game? Yes, of course I am. I'm very happy to see how this Centurion does with its APF SDS shell, and what I hope is that this will mean that we'll get some of the other ones, such as, the later tier Swedish Centurions. Those could also be premiums or in the tree, depending on how they feel like it. The Cent Mk.5 itself, or as I said, the Cent Mk.5 with the Australian upgrades. Overall, I'm very happy to see this, and the history behind it is enough to love to see it in game. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.